So the next episode of the next episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation is called Coming of Age. And what happens is Admiral Quinn and Remick. Admiral Quinn is an old friend of Captain Picard, and Remick is his little underling. And they come on board the Enterprise, and they're like, there is some kind of wrongdoing on the Enterprise, and you are definitely a bad guy. So we are going to interview everyone on the ship about your badness. And he's like, I don't think that's super necessary, but okay. So Remick proceeds to interview every single person on the ship, talking about different parts of the different episodes in the previous different. He's talking about other episodes. He mentions Justice and about how he saved Wesley, even though it was against the Prime Directive and all that. But this is like, this goes on for a long time. Meanwhile, Wesley has gone down to a planet where they're doing a test so he can enter Starfleet Academy. He's got his experience working as an ensign on the Enterprise, and he's going to join Starfleet Academy. All he has to do is do a test, and there's, I think, only 3 people in the class, and whoever wins, has the best score, gets to go to Starfleet Academy. So there's this woman who thinks Wesley is cute, but also thinks it's a bit unfair that he has all this experience. She didn't have the opportunity to serve on a starship before she went to the academy. And there's a guy named Murdoch who has like a breathing apparatus. He's a benzite, so he's blue, iridescent blue, and he can't breathe on our atmosphere, so he has a doohickey to breathe with. So Wesley, he immediately starts hanging out with Murdoch because he's such a cool guy, and they're walking down the hallway, and a guy comes out of nowhere and bumps into Wesley, and he's like, hey, you bumped into me, grrr. And Wesley's like, at first Wesley's like, sorry, so sorry. But then he sees that he's got a webbed finger, which is the only sign that this guy is an alien. He's got like webbing on his thumb. And Wesley's like, do you want me to beat you up over this? Because I will. And he's like, I like you. Friends. And Murdoch is like, that was weird. And Wesley's, no. Because a web-fingered man thinks politeness is rude and really likes it when you're confrontational instead. And he's like, oh, that's interesting. You know a lot about aliens from being on a starship. So then they go, they are very, very, very worried because they are going to have a test that makes them very scared. So they are going to be very scared when they have this test. It's like a test, it's called the psych test, and the whole thing is just to psych you out, to prove that when you're in Starfleet, even when you face your worst fear, you can still be a stand-up Starfleet officer. This is the entrance exam. Imagine how strenuous the actual academy is going to be. It's going to be bonkers, right? So he's like worried about his entrance exam. And he's walking down the hallway and he sees like Murdoch, and Murdoch is looking like very afraid. He's like, oh, I just had my psych test. Oh my goodness. And Wesley's like, whoa, it must have been a horror, must have been scary. And he's like, I don't want to talk about it. Oh, so scary. And he's like, oh, okay. So they have this other test. I'm not sure if they had this other test before or after Wesley has a psych test, but we're going to do it before. And they're doing a test. I'm not even sure what the object of this game is. They're trying to make cubes out of flying flying particles on the computer screen. It's like it's an 80s 3D computer game. And Mordoc's like, I can't do it, it's too hard. And Wesley's like, just calm down, let it happen. You can do it. You're super smart. I know you. You got this. And Mordoc ends up finishing before Wesley because Wesley was helping him. Anyway, later on, he's walking down the hallway, because they do that a lot in this episode, and there is like some kind of disaster happening. You know, lots of like smoke, and like it looks like liquid nitrogen in the, and Wesley goes in to help, and one guy is like got a sore leg, so Wesley has to drag him out, and the other guy is just being a wimp and won't walk through the smoke, and he's like, you're just being a wimp. I can't carry you both. You have to come. So he's dragging the guy out, and unfortunately the guy is too big a wimp to save himself, so he dies. But then it turns out it was all like pretend, and the guy doesn't even have a sore leg, and all of that was just his test, his psych test. And he's like, why is that my psych test? Oh, I know, because my dad is dead, and he got ordered to die by Captain Picard. And now you were worried that I would never be able to send anyone to their death, but that's pretty easy for me. So that was not a bad test. And this always makes me wonder if Jack Crusher maybe died because he was too wimpy to walk through some smoke. But that is we never really find out how exactly Jack Crusher died. Anyway, so at the end of the day, they're like, hey, we've decided who gets to go to the academy, and it's Mordoc. Congratulations, Mordoc. And Mordoc's like, that's not fair. Wesley helped me. And he's like, yeah, you know, there's more than just that one test. There's other tests that you did well on that we did not see. And they're like, oh, okay. So Mordoc gets to go to the academy. Wesley comes back and he's sad and he says, I failed. As if winning this little contest is losing this contest is a failure. It seems like just like a contest. And he's like, oh, I failed. And Picard's like, on the down low, I failed my first time too. Oh, and by the way, I forgot about the whole Remick and Admiral Quinn thing. It turns out Admiral Quinn didn't actually think anything was wrong with Captain Picard. He just wanted to interview everyone on the entire ship to see if Captain Picard was Admiral material. He's like, something weird is going on that we're not going to hear about for several episodes. And I want you to be an admiral and come with me and work with me. And he's like, no thanks, I'd rather stay on board the Enterprise. And you can almost see Riker in the background going, oh, because he really wants Picard's job. Anyway, so that is the end of whatever that episode was called, Coming of Age. Bye.